Today, we're covering the darkest secrets hidden in famous landmarks. Number 6. The Bloody Chamber of Edinburgh Castle. Perched like a predator above Scotland's capital, Edinburgh Castle guards its most sinister secret. The year was 1440. The stones were already ancient when two children walked through the gates, sealing their fate with every step. The Douglas brothers, young boys of 16 and 10, received an invitation they couldn't refuse: dinner with the young King of Scotland. The castle's great hall blazed with candlelight that night. Silver goblets clinked. Servants poured wine into golden cups. The boys, dressed in their finest, smiled at their host, not knowing they were already dead. Then came the moment that would stain these stones forever. Those two ancient doors. Servants carried not dessert, but a severed bull's head on a silver platter, dripping black blood onto pristine white linen, the medieval signal of imminent execution. Their screams echoed off these very walls as guards dragged them from their seats, their food still warm on golden plates. No trial awaited them, just an injustice. Their real crime? Their blood was too royal, their family too powerful. The young king begged for mercy, tears streaming down his face, but the castle demanded blood that night. The Douglas boys were led to the chopping block. Their final footsteps marked a path that thousands would later follow. Perhaps that's why visitors still hear phantom screams in the Great Hall. These stones remember what happened. A dinner that began with wine and ended with blood. Sir Walter Scott would later write of this betrayal: Edinburgh Castle, tone and tower, God grant thou sink for sin. But the castle wasn't done with its bloody work. Between the 15th and 18th centuries, the castle became Scotland's most notorious execution ground. Thousands were burned at the stake, mostly women accused of witchcraft. Under the reign of James VI alone, up to 6,000 people faced witch trials. 3 out of every 4 were women. Today, a simple bronze fountain marks the spot where so many met their end. Tourists walk past it daily, unaware they're standing on blood-soaked ground. The castle still watches over Edinburgh, its stones holding secrets of feasts that turned to executions, of trials without justice, of innocence condemned to flame. Number 5. The secret floor of the Empire State Building. Every day, thousands of tourists ride the elevators of the Empire State Building, watching the numbers climb: 80, 81, 82, but there's one floor they'll never see. Look closely at the buttons next time you visit. Notice anything missing? Between floors 102 and 103, there's another story, something secret, a hidden floor that officially doesn't exist. Above the highest public observation deck, beyond where the tourist crowds thin out, there's a mysterious level accessible only by a single metal ladder. No windows, no signs. Just thick copper pipes disappearing into darkness and walls covered in decades of secret markings. While millions marvel at Manhattan's skyline from the observation deck below, this forbidden door has its own secrets. The walls tell stories and hide dark secrets from the past. During World War II, this floor served as a classified monitoring station. FBI agents watched for enemy activities vigilantly. The heights offered an unparalleled vantage point over New York Harbor, and the floor's separate elevator system provided complete secrecy. But something happened in late 1945 that forever changed this place. According to declassified FBI documents, agents stationed there experienced severe psychological disturbances. It started with reports of temporal anomalies, watches stopping or running backward, radio communications receiving broadcasts decades into the future. The phenomenon became increasingly more disturbing. Multiple agents reported seeing impossible things through the windows, visions that defied physics and sanity. The most chilling accounts described witnesses observing their own deaths play out in the city below. Each vision eventually proved prophetic. One agent reported watching himself fall from a building that wouldn't be constructed for another 30 years. Another witnessed his future car accident at an intersection that didn't exist yet. Both events happened exactly as predicted. The breaking point came when 3 senior agents simultaneously suffered complete psychological breakdowns after seeing what they described as New York's final day. Their reports, heavily redacted but partially leaked, speak of witnessing multiple versions of the city's destruction overlapping like a muddle of time. Each timeline showed a different way the city would die. Within 24 hours of this incident, the entire floor was evacuated and sealed, the elevator system was disabled, and all records of floor operations were classified at the highest levels. Official documents now list it merely as a mechanical flaw. Number 4. The Paris Catacombs, Forbidden Secret Passages. Paris's romantic streets hide another secret city, a black hole that stretches for hundreds of miles, a place where the lines between explorer and victim blur. While tourists shuffle around the sanitized areas, taking selfies with carefully arranged bones, something far more sinister awaits in the unmapped tunnels. A secret maze where the temperature never rises above 59 degrees, where darkness isn't just the absence of light, but an entity that consumes those who wander in its presence. In 2017, 2 teenagers learned this the hard way. What began as an adventure became a nightmare. 3 days in complete darkness. No food, no water. Their phones dead. Their minds playing tricks as hypothermia set in. They were the lucky ones. They made it out alive, but not everyone does. Deep in these unmapped sections, rescue workers make grim discoveries. Bodies. Some recent, some not so recent. People who were never reported missing, who simply vanished into the earth below Paris. The locals call them cataphiles, urban explorers who slip through secret entrances to party in abandoned chambers. But the catacombs don't care about your experience. One wrong turn, one dead flashlight, and you become part of its collection. In the 1990s, a video camera was found deep in the tunnels. The footage showed a man increasingly panicked, running through identical passages. The video ends abruptly, and he was never found. The official maps show about 300 kilometers of secret tunnels, but city explorers speak of countless more. Mapless sections that don't appear in any official document. Passages that shift and change. Compasses spin uselessly and GPS signals die. The next time you're walking through Paris, remember, you're walking above darkness, and somewhere in that mysterious darkness, someone is still trying to find their way out. Number 3. Petra's Hidden Chamber of Sacrifices. For 2,000 years, the treasury of Petra has kept its secrets. Until now, we've all seen it. The magnificent facade carved into rose-colored stone, made famous by Indiana Jones. However, what lay beneath remained hidden, waiting. One summer, archaeologists made a discovery that changed everything. Under the feet of millions of tourists, a hole appeared on their radar screens. A secret chamber that shouldn't exist. What they found was no ordinary tomb. 12 skeletons perfectly preserved, their final moments frozen in time. But it's what they were holding that sent chills down the spines of these seasoned archaeologists. One skeleton, its bony fingers still clutched around an ancient vessel, a chalice that had an uncanny resemblance to the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones. Life imitating art in the most chilling way possible. But this was just the beginning. The chamber held more than just bones. Ancient artifacts, untouched for 2 millennia, told a story of ritual, sacrifice, and power. These weren't just any bodies. They were chosen, placed here for a purpose we're only beginning to understand. The position of the bodies, the artifacts surrounding them, everything was carefully arranged. This wasn't a burial. It was a ceremony, a ritual that ended with 12 people buried beneath one of the world's most famous monuments. What were they protecting? What secrets did they take to their graves? And why, after 2,000 years, is this chamber now revealing itself? Number 2. Tower of London's execution site. They say that stone cannot keep secrets, but for centuries, these ancient walls have done exactly that. Beneath your feet, beneath the perfectly manicured tourist paths and carefully preserved buildings, lies a truth far darker than any tour guide will tell you. In 2023, as the morning fog rolled across the Thames River, a team of archaeologists made a discovery that would shatter everything we thought we knew about London's most infamous fortress. Using advanced ground-penetrating radar, they found something that shouldn't exist. Mass graves, dozens of them, stretching far beyond the known execution grounds. But these weren't the neat documented deaths of nobility that we read about in history books. These bones tell a different story. A story of unmarked graves, of deaths that were never meant to be discovered, of systematic elimination that took place in the shadows, away from the public spectacle of Tower Hill. While tourists snap photos of ravens and marvel at the crown jewels, they're standing on top of history's darkest secret, evidence that the tower's secret reputation for terror was well earned. The physical proof of countless souls who entered these gates and simply disappeared. The official records tell us about the infamous executions, Anne Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey, the princes in the tower, but it seems these documented deaths were merely a facade, a public show hiding a much darker truth. So the next time you visit the Tower of London, remember, you're not just walking through a museum, you're walking on top of an unmarked graveyard, a place where countless untold stories lie buried in secret. Number 1. Eastern State's Darkest Wing. Eastern State Penitentiary, America's first true prison, has a secret of its own. Behind its decaying cell blocks, one wing holds darker secrets than all the rest. This is Ward C, the medical wing, but healing was never its true purpose. In the early 1900s, while the public believed prisoners were receiving medical care, something far more sinister was taking place. These walls were home to experiments that pushed the boundaries of human suffering, all in the name of scientific progress. Prisoners, people society had forgotten, became unwilling test subjects. No consent forms, no ethical oversight, just human guinea pigs at the mercy of doctors who saw them as nothing more than acres of skin. The records tell us of experiments involving radioactive substances, untested drugs, and chemical agents. Men returned to their cells with unexplained burns, swollen limbs, and injuries that haunted them for life. Many never returned at all. When prisoners complained of symptoms, they were often thrown into solitary confinement, their pain dismissed as madness, their suffering sealed behind iron doors. Even decades after the prison closed, former inmates remained scarred, their bodies permanently marked by experiments they never agreed to. Some developed cancers, others suffered chronic conditions that puzzled doctors for years. Today, this wing of Eastern State Penitentiary is empty. Medical equipment rusts in corners, syringes lie scattered in dust, but the ghosts of the past linger in every shadow. Eastern State Penitentiary is now a museum, drawing thousands of visitors interested in ghost stories and tales of infamous inmates. But the real horror wasn't in the execution chamber or isolation cells, it was here, in this medical ward, where humanity's darkest impulses were given free rein in the name of progress. Some say at night, you can still hear the screams. The next time you visit one of these famous landmarks, remember, you're not just walking through a tourist attraction. You're walking on top of secret chambers, forgotten graves, and hidden horrors that carry the screams of the past. And perhaps, just perhaps, the ancient walls are watching you back. Will you be their next secret to keep? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more content and drop us a comment in the comment section to tell us what you thought about this video.